everyone, we're week 2, one step. In this series, we're talking about the steps we can take toward a better tomorrow by moving toward justice in our world. Justice is when something is right, fair, or unequal. Justice is about moving against injustice. Things that are unfair, unequal, are not right, and toward a world that's better for everyone. Some of us know about injustice because we've heard about it. We've seen it firsthand. Some of us need someone else to step in and move toward good on our behalf because we are experiencing justice ourselves. It's happening to people right now in our world. For example, in our schools, kids are being bullied for having disabilities or even speech impediment, like me. I struggle with a lisp. Silly, Sally, sold seashells. Do you hear it? I have a hard time announcing S's. No matter the injustice you are experiencing it, you know how unfair and painful it is. When you're going through an injustice, you may wonder, how can I fight for justice when the injustice is happening to you? You were made in God's image. You have value. You should be treated with respect. We're going to look at some people who needed justice back in ancient times. We read in the book of Daniel about Nebuchadnezzar, a powerful king who ordered everyone to worship a giant statue. Those who didn't would be punished and would be thrown into a fire. 3 teenagers named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego worshiped God and refused to worship the statue. When Nebuchadnezzar found out, he ordered 3 men to be captured, young men, and gave them one last chance to worship the statue. 3 young men refused and were thrown into the fire. These men faced an unjust, unfair situation that they didn't deserve. This is what happened next. But suddenly, Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, "Didn't we tie up 3 young men and throw them into the furnace?" "Yes, your majesty, we certainly did." They replied, "Look," Nebuchadnezzar shouted, "I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed. And the 4th looks like in God." Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, "3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, came out. Come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them, not a hair on their heads, not a singe, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell like smoke. We don't know for sure who was in the fire with the man, but we do know that God didn't allow the 3 young men to be alone in their situation. God didn't let them experience the injustice by themselves. The same is true for us. We don't have to face injustice alone. Jesus came to the earth and experienced all kinds of things, including injustice. He understands how it feels to be treated unfairly, and he stands with us. While knowing Jesus is with us doesn't magically make it injustice go away or easier to take. It does remind us that we aren't alone. You don't have to face injustice alone. Maybe you relate to these 3 young men who are in the fire. Maybe you've experienced the suffering that goes along with painful, unfair treatment, and you're trying to keep faith as you're standing in the flames. Let me give you some ideas of some of the steps you can take. A good first step you can take toward a better tomorrow for yourself is to simply remember, God is with you. You are made in God's image. You deserve to be honored and respected. You deserve justice. So find strength and faith in the fact that God not only sees your struggle, but is standing with you in it. If you're experiencing injustice right now or dealing with an injustice that's happening to you in the past, maybe your next step is to talk about it. If you feel comfortable, speak up and share it with people in your life who care about you and want to help you move toward justice with you. We want this to be your safe place. Remember those 3 young men we just read about? It may not have been what or how they expected, but God sent someone in the flames so they wouldn't have to be alone. I think one big step we can take is to look for the people God sent to show up for us. Who are the people standing in the furnace with you? Who are the ones God sent to stand in the fire beside you? Maybe that's a best friend who listens and cares about your pain, an activist you follow on TikTok, working to move toward justice you need, those people, they're all people God put in your life so that you wouldn't have to face injustice alone. You don't have to face injustice alone. Injustice is in our world, but we can be the kind of people who move toward justice one step at a time with a huge impact for the future. As you guys heard that story of the three young men, they went through that furnace, but they didn't go alone. The same is true today. We are in the furnace, we are in the world, and we're not alone. God is with us. You guys have a blessed one.